Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another podcast. Stop thinking there is only one way to get a woman. You know what I've seen on here, especially, you got different people discussing women. You know, whether it's dating coaches or red pill guys or seduction gurus or even formal relationship experts, right? And you know what? Everybody got their different style. Everybody got their different methods and stuff. But it's no right or wrong way. They different methods. You know, it's just like martial arts. You got different martial arts. You know, you got Shotokan, you got karate, kung fu, Muay Thai. Shoot, 52 blocks for people who know what that is. I mean, there's different ways. They all the same in the same group. They just different styles. Well, it's the same thing with getting women. People know I talk about body game, and that's the foundation of what I talk about. But that's not the only way to get a woman. It works very well, but you know what? Some dudes don't have that body that stands out, but they got a hell of a mouthpiece. That works, And then, some people talk about looks, money, and status. But hey, some women, they going for that guy with that real handsome face. And then some other women, shoot, that guy has some money, that guy has some status. And then when you throw other things into the mix, it's going to affect it because, and I said this a lot of times, I got a young lady, real good friend, shoot, if you ain't saying, and I've said this several times, shoot, she might even hear me say it. It's like if you ain't praising your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, she ain't dealing with you. So a guy who stepped to her, he probably in the first 5 minutes got to let her know what church he go to and got to be in the same denomination. And there's different things. Or if you get another woman who might be into certain types of music or something, she might be like, all right, you got to hit her that way. And then that's a whole group. In fact, you got a lot of guys, shoot, they might be like to the general public, NonSelect. Most women going to ignore them. But if they in certain subcultures, they the man. So they gotta adjust for that. But there's no one way. People shouldn't be arguing, saying, well, this work or that don't work. Everything work. I've done some videos recently saying many women will check out an ugly guy. Hey, for some women, they don't want a pretty. In fact, a lot of women will hate that. But then, they hate a guy who look pretty, as they would call him, or too handsome. Because they want a rough looking dude. All right, fine. So if a dude got like maybe a rough looking face or something, a woman might deal with him. And even I remember I did that particular video and somebody had a good point. A lot of times they want that ugly dude who's rough, but I actually know a woman who she purposely went for dorky looking dudes. Purposely would go crazy over them. Every guy I seen her with, dorky. Right? And my point is with that, people, too many men get in an argument over it. Like they be fighting over different styles and everything. And I'm like, no, it's just different styles. I know I talk about the body game, but if my bigger thing is about turning a woman on sexually. That's my bigger thing. But even with that, because so many women are repressed to a degree and got different degrees of repression, she might have a certain trigger. It could be the religion, or her trigger could be you got to be at you do have to have a certain amount of money and status. For example, I talk about this in my book, Sexual Chemistry. I talked about a woman named April. She had a condition in her mind. She only wanted a guy who was rich and had status, right? A rich guy. So when she was around men that she thought were rich, she would walk a certain way and behave a certain way and be receptive. When she was around guys she didn't think had money, she would be different. So a man like maybe a coach or a commenter who focuses on that would help a man get that type of woman. Now, personally, I wouldn't want to deal with that type of woman, but Some guys are like, whatever. And they see that's another thing too. People gotta respect what some guy wants to do. If that's what he want to do, okay, respect it. But it's a problem when that guy wants to do a certain way, but he purposely jumps on somebody doing something else. You know? And that's not gonna work. See, check this out. Check this out. At the end of the day, every single individual got to develop their own style. They got to find what works for them. You know? What works for me on a personal basis is like the contrast. If I don't open my mouth or something serious, I've had some people tell me this. I've had men and women say, you know, when they see me just walking or something, I've been told straight up I look like a thug. I've been told straight up, or I look like I'm going to kill somebody, something, because I don't smile when I'm out. But then when I would meet them, or for whatever reason I had to talk to them, they listen to me. They're like, oh, wait a minute. This is a contrast because I look a certain way, but then I speak another way. So it's like it fascinates women in particular. You say, oh, wow, wait a minute. But that works for me in particular. Somebody else, you can't get mad if I say, well, that's what works for me. See, and that's all, like I say, ultimately people got to say that, but you can't impose that. You can't impose that. In fact, when I do any coaching or talk to people, I don't tell them all the same thing. I find out specifically what they need to do. And then I go from there. I don't say, well, just because this other guy did it, you should do it. And see, let me go off on a little tangent right there. That's why a lot of guys shouldn't be mad at another guy or wonder why. It works for him. And it works for him, not just him, but the group he's with. Because like I said, remember what I said about like subculture. Somebody could be dorky and unappealing to the majority of people, but he in a subculture. Like, let me use that church example again. There's some guys in like certain church denominations, spiritual denominations who tearing up. But if you put them in the outside world, they gets no play. But they could be in like they could be in a storefront church, working all the women, but outside of it, nothing. All right? So, but that's the way they do it, because ultimately it comes down to you, and then it comes down to your tribe. What have I always said about tribes, y'all? I say every single man got a tribe. The thing he should do, and this some game, and this is one piece of game I would give to anybody. You got to find out who's receptive to what you got. So that person who, you know, some one dude, he might, you know, his tribe might be a bunch of ghetto ass women, you know, low level women, or I ain't gonna say low level. It's just women in a particular social class who behave a certain way. But then the next man, his tribe might be a bunch of high class women. And trust me, it's two different ways of them interacting with each other. You know, people got to find, every single man got to find his own thing, and don't worry about the next. And in fact, when you talk about like what the dating coaches think, people try to compare and all of that. It's like, no, find the one that works for you. And if something don't work for you, boom. I mean, I've had some people tell me directly, well, you know, Rom, I ain't really feeling what you were saying. I'm going to unsub. I'll be like, peace. And that's one thing I tell people. That's why I don't even get caught up in trying to compete for subs or anything like that. Because I know what I'm talking about is on a certain level, especially the people who follow me off of YouTube. They know I go way deeper into some stuff, but that's a path. But they ain't for everybody. Somebody else might have to be like, you know, something totally different, depending on where, because everything goes into it. Where you live, your social class, your racial background, your religion, your subculture. You know, you might be one of those cats who just want to like read comic books and all of that. And I said this before about a local comic book store near me. I've seen a lot of like I would say fairly attractive women going there. You know, very fairly attractive. And I know and I would see the, guys who would talk to them or even be with them. And they probably wouldn't be considered the type of guys who would be like, you know, have a big following on IG or anything. But shoot, they got a girlfriend there, you know? So don't ever get in that thing. It's like only one way and this is better than that. The only thing you can talk about is what works for you in particular. All right. So anyway, that's all I got for now. I'll talk to y'all. Peace.